Okay, so I just got an excellent question from a viewer who asked, how do you know if your panel is maxed out? He's putting in some new appliances and he wants to know if he has enough power in his panel to do that without overloading the panel. So there are a couple things to keep in mind that you can do. There's three things actually. So first of all, the main thing is if you're not having any problems in your house right now, and that is if you're not noticing like flickering lights or dimming lights or motors and fans that are dropping power, such as if your central air unit might turn on and then the lights dim, or the microwave is running and something else turns on and then the microwave sounds like it's slowing down or something like that. These are indicators that your electrical panel is full, and I believe that we've actually talked about this on another video. And it's not that the panel is full physically with breakers, but that your panel is close to being maxed out electrically as far as electrical usage and the amount of electricity that you're getting to your house. But really, there's a couple things you can do to test that. One thing you can do is look at your electric bill and get an idea of how much amperage the service from your utility is being served to the property. And it might not be on your bill, but you can contact your utility and they'll tell you if you have like a 60 amp service, 100 amp service, 150 amp service, or a 200 amp service, some along these lines. They'll be able to tell you that information. And just the circuit breakers in the panel on your property is not enough to go by to know if your panel is overloaded or not. Now, depending on the appliances that you're putting in, each appliance will have a certain amount of electricity that it uses. If it's something small, like a little clock radio, it'll be like half an amp or 1 amp. But larger appliances like microwaves and washers and dryers and stuff, they'll have a rating on them. It'll tell you the amperage. You may need dedicated circuits for those things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a separate panel upgrade for that. You might have room in your panel as existing to just put them in. So one thing that you can do to determine if you have room is, first of all, if you have breaker space, if you can put another breaker in there in your panel or a tandem breaker, that's a start, but that's not the only answer, and that's not really the primary way to determine if you have room for more appliances in your panel. You really should have an electrician or get a multimeter. You can go to the local hardware store, purchase a multimeter which tests amperage, and it's actually called an ammeter. It's a multimeter, it has a little clamp on the end of it, and you're going to have to test each circuit as well as the service mains coming in. So it's a little tricky, but you can do it. Just keep in mind that when you're testing the circuits, you have to test each individual hot leg circuit with the ammeter clamp. So you're not testing the neutrals or the whites or the grounds, just the hot wires, just the hot conductors themselves. And you're testing one at a time for the amperage. So for example, if you're testing a 20 amp circuit, and that is a circuit that's on a 20 amp breaker, you're going to put the clamp around that one wire coming out of the breaker, and you're looking for something like just a low amperage basically. So, but when you do this, you're going to want to turn everything on possible. All the lights and TVs and everything, you want to turn all that on, and that'll give you an idea of how much electricity is being used on that circuit. And then also make sure you turn everything on to test the two main conductors feeding your service. And when you test those two conductors, you are looking for something less than 75 or 80% of the service that you're getting from the utility. So what I mean by that is when you call the utility, say they tell you you have a 100 amp service. That means they're giving you 100 amps to use on your panel. So when you do all the tests, you turn everything on, test all of the amperage at each circuit, and then you test the mains. The mains, you want them to have less than 80 amps. You really want something like 50 or 60 amps or less total amperage coming out of your panel, so that you can add whatever appliances you need to, or dedicated circuits for those appliances. So the amperage that those appliances use is going to add to the total amperage that your panel is using. So say you have a washer and dryer and they use 9 amps as an example. If you have something like 90 amps being used in a 100 amp panel, you're really pushing the limits of the utility service in your panel. So, you know, mathematically you're looking at using 99 amps in that type of situation, which is basically the panel is ultimately overloaded at that point. But say you have a 100 amp service and you're only using 50 amps, you do all the little tests and you find out that you're using 50 amps in the panel. You can easily add a dedicated circuit for a washer and dryer that uses 9 amps, you know, because then you're looking at using 59 amps, you know. So so when you look at the amperage being used in your panels, it revolves around the number of amps that the panel is pulling and not the number of circuit breakers. You could have, you know, a panel that is full of circuit breakers but using very little electricity. You might have a panel with a few circuit breakers that's using a lot of electricity. So it really is the amps that are being drawn out of the panel by the appliances and equipment that are plugged in to the outlets and the fixtures that are hardwired in that circuit coming out of the panel. So, well, I hope that helps with understanding how to determine if your panel is full and what you can do to add a few circuits. Have a good day.